I used to think that in order to find your style, you needed to paint in one way, one medium, one subject. And by focusing on your element, you're eventually going to master and find your style. This is my studio wall, and I have put up different paintings of different styles. And the reason why I put up all these different paintings is I wanted to reflect on the variety of ways that I love using watercolor. Even though I paint in watercolor, I believe that you don't have to shoebox yourself into specific techniques or specific ways in which you're painting. I'm the kind of artist where I enjoy exploring. I see art as a way to express myself. I feel like I could do anything I wanted because really it's my playground. And I get frequently asked, how do you stay inspired? Where do you get your inspiration from? And my inspiration is really from just going beyond one style. Don't paint in one style. Just do all kinds of styles that you like, you love. Throw in all kinds of things. Well, okay, before you hear me talk about all of this, maybe you're going to want to watch today's episode where I'm going to be sharing with you where I started with my journey painting in one style and then how it's going today. Welcome to my sketchbook, a place where I have started to do lots of little experiments. I've been playing around with gouache lately, and this is actually a painting that you're going to be watching me paint, inspired by Vincent van Gogh's Blue Flowers in a Blue Vase. I found myself loving impressionist style flowers when I found a library book called Working Amongst Flowers, and I have actually shared a little bit about this book in another YouTube video, which you can find in the description below. Apart from that, I also attended a digital immersive experience with Van Gogh's painting, and I think that also gave me the chance to see how Vincent van Gogh used his time as an artist to paint more than one subject. He painted his portraits in a variety of different styles, and he also painted landscapes, florals, and all kinds of different subjects. Now, the way in which he paints is still very much according to how he expresses himself. But that being said, what I really enjoyed about studying and seeing his work is how he continued to try out new combinations, new ways of expressing lines and creating compositions throughout the various subjects. Now, the reason why I'm talking about Vincent van Gogh and my own current exploration with impressionist style paintings is because one of the things that I was told when I first started watercolor was in order to find your style, you need to hone in on your way in which you love watercolor and keep going and keep discovering, and that way when you really focus and go in depth into that subject, you're eventually going to master it and find your style. This did not really work for me. I felt like by doing this method, I was stagnant. I didn't feel like I was progressing. In fact, I felt a lot more frustrated with myself just because it felt like I was painting the same thing over and over again. And at that point in time, my first year of watercolor, it was those swirly roses that I was doing over and over again. And it was until I took a pause and came back into it and started to really take my time with watercolor and find subjects that I liked or pictures that I wanted to paint from or color combinations that I wanted to try out, and eventually moving past watercolor into other mediums that I felt I was really expanding beyond a comfort zone that led into me listening to myself, which truly is about the way in which we find our style. So I guess you're here today watching this video wondering what I mean by not painting in one style and how am I going to stay focused if I don't. Now, I'm here to share with you that I've learned from my practice that when I introduce new mediums to my existing art, it always gives me a new sense of excitement because I get to express and I get to break rules. And I feel like art should be about testing and experimentation and curiosity and expression. It shouldn't just be about knowing rules and not knowing how exactly to do things on your own. Art should be all about autonomy and finding what exactly you like and you want to do rather than a recommendation given by another artist or something that someone else had mentioned, because we tend to lean heavily on experts, hoping to eventually paint like an artist that we admire. And believe me, I know that all of us go through these various stages because I too was there before. I used to emulate and try to be so many different artists. And one thing that I knew for sure was that I couldn't feel my authentic self. It was a style that I really liked and admired of someone else, but it wasn't who I was and what I wanted to create. And sometimes, in order for me to discover what I like, is to play, and play is messy. Play doesn't have to be perfect, and sometimes play is just looking into a book and finding a impressionist style master and then replicating it in your own style, injecting in colors that you really like. And this is where I feel like my sketchbook practice has really allowed me to expand my comfort zone, to do more than what I was used to. And as a result, it has also showed me how many more possibilities there can be in painting. And this is for me so liberating to do, and it's so much more encouraging because I have now discovered that today the artwork that I've done might not necessarily have worked out, but tomorrow I can try again in a different approach or with a different color scheme, and I never know what I would discover. I think one of those things that really scare me about trying out new styles is going past my comfort zone. Kind of, it's so comfy and cushy just painting the same thing over and over again, something that you're good at, especially if you've mastered it for a while and practiced it. And it can feel quite tricky to, move past some of your feelings around doing what you don't know, that uncertainty, and again, that self-doubt that comes in. I think it's so real whenever I try new mediums and new subjects. However, what has really grounded me in being able to do that is I noticed that every time I inject in new mediums and new subjects, I often feel kinder to myself just because it's new. And I think that I don't know about you, but I find that the more I do watercolor, which is what my signature is, I've got higher expectations of myself because I feel like I know it, I shouldn't be making mistakes. I should master it. I should, and then all of, yeah, exactly, all of those shoulds and musts start to appear, and it's really not healthy. It's a real killjoy when it comes to creating. I used to believe that if I painted in one style or if I had a specific signature, people will know me and recognize me for that particular piece of work. However, as I continue to evolve in this journey of mine in the last 4 years, one thing that I have learned is that this is a long game. I'm not going to reach a destination, but rather my style is something that's ever evolving. It's almost like the types of clothes that you lean towards when you were a teenager versus where you are now. It is not going to be the same, and that's because our style evolves, our mindset evolves, the way we see things evolves. It's the same as our taste buds as well. I don't eat as much sugar as I used to when I was younger, but I still have a sweet tooth, but that doesn't mean that I have changed in any way, but rather it's also a little bit of an expansion or a change in our maturity. And I feel like when we paint in one style, it can pigeonhole the way we see things, and while it produces lots of depth in zooming into particular subjects, it also can sometimes feel stagnating. Well, that's how I felt, and I would love to know how you feel about repeatedly painting in a specific style in order to find your voice. I have always felt like finding my voice in recent years meant that I needed to expand and not just paint florals, but maybe try painting landscapes or try painting oils or maybe even mixing in different types of illustrative elements into my loose paintings. And this has been so much more liberating and fun, and as I continue on with this, one of the things that I felt was more excitement in my art. And I think that this is essentially the reason why I create. It's that excitement, it's that space where I get to really do whatever I like within the rules that I make for myself rather than the rules that other people are imposing onto me. As you watch me explore and paint in this sketchbook, I would love to hear your thoughts in the comments around painting in a single style, or around how you discovered or are you discovering your style. I feel like so many different artists share their thoughts on this topic. It's always really interesting for me to hear about it because I feel like everyone has a unique piece to this topic. There isn't really one real advice that you should follow, because eventually my thoughts goes where you need to choose what fits you as an artist. You being the artist means that you get to decide and you get to have the autonomy to choose what rules to keep and what rules to break. And I think that that really keeps that magic of your art making experience. I think at the end of the day, prioritizing what makes me feel good about art rather than validation from others, or doing things right, or having things perfect or look in a certain way, and focusing on how I feel about it has really been what has helped me to develop and find a style. Because I always put this in inverted commas, because I don't believe that it's a destination, it's a path. I feel like it's a journey, and it's something that's always evolving and ongoing. I don't think that we really arrive, but you know, when I loved watercolor when I started versus now, while there are things that I really like about it, I don't think that I liked or painted in the same way as I did right now. You know, that's because you evolve and your eyes develop and change. And with all of this in mind, we need to then see that really it's never going to stop. It's just going to keep going, and your emotions change, the way you see color changes, the way in which you feel for different subjects might change. I love flowers, and I've always loved flowers, and the more I have traveled, the more I have experienced different landscapes. I've actually started to lean into landscapes, and you know, being able to paint and translate what I want into a new subject is a new style, or is a new way of, you know, finding your path again. So I hope that this video has been one where it has got you thinking. Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are with regard to, you know, painting in one style, painting in one medium, how it is to you, because these here are my opinions. And if you think differently, I think it's great, because that way we get to share more within the community. Let me know, and I cannot wait to see you again next week.